Hey everybody, I'm going to be painting a Lieutenant Titus Space Marine. My friend reached out to me pretty recently, and as a gift for the holidays, he bought me the Space Marines 2 game. Totally blown away by that. It's been a lot of fun, but the only problem is I hadn't gotten anything yet, so I had to put a lot of thought into it, and I knew the perfect thing. In the past, when we've played Warhammer, I've helped him build his army, and then he's let me paint his army in the past. So what better than to pick this bad boy up? So I got the Lieutenant Titus miniature, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint it up for him, and I'm gonna give this to him back as a holiday gift in return for the game. And I think he's really gonna like it, because playing that game has been pretty cool. And what better than to actually have a physical Lieutenant Titus, or Lieutenant Titus as they call it. So yeah, I'm gonna go through and show you just kind of how I've painted it up. I've tried a couple different techniques, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so normal, just basically cut, trim, and glue the miniature. Just get it all cleaned up and put together and posed. I didn't do any sub-assemblies, I just put the whole thing together. Did a quick Zenithal primer, just a normal rattle can black and a white. I use the Army Painter paints. I'm trying a different approach at doing my painting. So I'm base coating the armor in a deeper red. All of my paints are the Army Painter paints. So I'm going with a deeper, darker red, which has been really cool because it transitions from really dark to really light as you go up higher. The nice thing is as I add the darker blues, it almost turns it into like a purple color, which in the cracks is a little bit different than just having just basic black in there. It gives a little pop of color and a little bit of life. Plus his chapter is a Blood Angels subsect that he kind of created on his own. So having a red base coat kind of gives an homage to his Blood Angels roots of his army anyways, even though this is going to be a display piece for him. So after I base coated it all in the red, I went through with a like a deep blue, watered it down real good, went through and painted it on really light. Just did that all over the armor, made sure to blend it up. I went a little bit heavier where the highlights will be, a little bit lighter where the recesses and the shadows are going to be, so that way it's a little bit more of that darker red purplish type color. As you can see, it has this really cool purple hue to it. Then I went through with just the deep blue and just a little bit of the red in there, but mostly the deep blue, and started adding to the highlights and blending it out. Got it a little bit thinner in some areas to try to almost wet blend it in. I'm really bad at wet blending. I use a lot of washes more than anything. I don't like to do a lot of the edge highlighting and stuff like that. So went through and painted the deep blue on, hitting the highlights a little bit more, letting the red and the purplish colors seep through. Just went around, did that on the whole armor. As you can see, it's looking really good as I add that on. I wasn't trying to be too careful. I'm going to go back through and clean it up after I got all the base armor painted, and then as I go through just a couple more coats with the deep blue. Like I said, these are really thinned down. It really starts to get a nice gradient, and it really pops in the areas where you really want it to, and having that Zenithal primer really helps kind of set the tone, if you would. But yeah, went through and added a couple light coats, and got a nice coat of blue. It was a really dark and rich color. Having it with that base coat, it looks really good. So I was very happy with that as a nice base coat. So because I'm a wash guy, I like washes. I went through with a blue wash. I just used the Army Painter washes. I like this because it didn't cover up the colors that I had created, but it did settle really well. I did thin it down a little bit. It settled really well into the cracks and really helped those armor plates pop. So again, wasn't trying to be super clean, just kind of went through and slapped on the wash. I'm gonna go back over a little bit later and clean it up a little bit more. Get some really good highlights in there, but as a base coat of blue, it looks really good, and it was popping right there. I almost wanted to leave it as is because I don't like a lot of bright highlights in my armor. I like more of the grimdark look. My Black Templar are very grimdark in the way I've done it. I've done a lot of stipple painting with them, or dry brushing if I wanted to do highlights and then I put washes on it. So this was a really cool way to definitely keep to the style that I like to paint in. So yeah, slapped on the blue wash, got it into all the nooks and crannies, and then I'll let that dry and then go in and start highlighting and filling in all the areas that I've kind of painted blue that I didn't mean to be blue. But there it is, dry. Looks really good. So I'm very happy with that. So yeah, so I went through and I used some of the purplish color that I had on the wet palette to kind of hit the face real quick. Just kind of get those purple undertones in the nooks and crannies of the face, which is kind of nice. And then I really liked that purplish color as kind of a foundational color. So I went through and I painted all the tabards, all the leather pieces, pretty much anything I was going to do black or brown. I went through and I just painted it in that purple color. It's a step I probably didn't need to do because I kind of covered it up anyways, but I think it looked really neat. So this is not quite, like a chaos type black. It's just like a grayish black color that I've mixed down, and I'm gonna go through and base coat everything that's gonna be silver and or gold. I'm gonna do a silver base coat or mid layer before I put on the gold color. So anything that's gonna be painted silver and then subsequently gold, I went through and painted with this black color just to give a good foundation to help the metals, the metallic colors really pop. Yeah, I needed to really go through and hit the weapons again and all that, just to get everything kind of a nice foundational layer to build upon. So as you can see, I'm just going through and cleaning up the weapons. I hadn't really put a base coat on there. It's just the primer on there, so they needed a nice base coat. I'm hitting the Aquila on the chest there. I've never painted any Ultramarines before. I hate to say it, the blue is kind of cool to paint, especially the blue and the gold. Looks really good. I've been a Templar player since the original, was that 3rd or 4th edition Templar box, box set with the Dark Eldar. So I've been collecting Black Templar forever. So this is my first Ultramarine that I'm painting. So it was definitely kind of fun to go through and figure out just how I like to paint it. So yeah, as you see, I'm just going through and I'm hitting all the little tabard or comma, I think that's what it is, and then all the pouches. I'm hitting it with just an oak brown, just as a good foundational layer. Around the edges where it was kind of moving into the blue, it had that little purple transition that was already there, so it looked pretty neat. Again, all the pieces that I'm going to be painting silver, I left black, especially like the bottom of the pistol holster there, going through. And then I'm base coating his hair brown. I'm going to go for like a more grayish hair color. So I'm hitting it with brown first, and I'll go through with more of a gray later. But yeah, just hitting all the foundational stuff that's going to be either leather or cloth, hitting it with the brown, and yeah, just getting a nice foundation there. Starting to come through with, I decided on a skeleton bone color, and I'm just kind of hitting as just kind of a mid layer, really focusing on where the highlights are going to be, especially on the tabards there. And I am going into the recesses, but I did try to do like cross hatching a little bit into the recesses. I'm going to hit those with washes and subsequent layers, but so that's why I just focused more on the highlights. I also took the skeleton bone and I hit some of the highlights on the face, because I want to do like a purple undertone to the face and use more of like a like an elf skin, like an elvish skin type color, more of a pink color. But I hit some of the highlights with the skeleton bone just to make some of the highlights really pop on the face. Went through and hit all the purity seals as well. And then what I did is I took the skeleton bone and I hit the edges and did edge highlighting on the leather pieces. To be honest, I've never really done a brighter color as an edge highlight on the leather. I really liked it. I actually tried doing the little scrapes and just the worn leather look. First time doing it, I went a little heavy. I hate edge highlighting. I'm really bad at it. I can never get the consistency right. I'm probably using too thick of a brush, but I had fun still. Like I said, I'm gonna do a wash over these, and the wash really toned down the brightness, which I think as the end product, it looked really good. You can see there I hit the skeleton bone on the shoulder piece as well, with the little scroll and the skeleton on there. There's also a skeleton on the base that I hit with some skeleton bone as well. So yeah, just hitting a little bit more on the face, just hitting some highlights. Going back through, adding another layer to the highlights of the tabard, just making sure that pops really good. Just kind of doing some cleanup. Yeah, the knee had the Ultramarine symbol, the little U there, so I painted that with a matte white, so it really stood out. I also had forgot to paint the rim around the shoulders black. I had already gone through and painted that black layer for everything that's going to be silver and then subsequently gold. So I went through and I repainted, didn't repaint, I painted over it with the black color just to get the nice foundation for when I put the metallic colors down. It's looking pretty good so far. I got a lot of the foundation layers, so looks good. So yeah, then what I did is now that all of the foundations were there, I felt like I can start doing more highlighting on the armor itself. So I got more of like an ultramarine color, and I went through and I started hitting the highlight areas. When I put it under a light, the areas where the light hit, I started hitting those really heavy, and then I was feathering it out from there. The wash also left some blotchy spots where it settled in weird areas because I didn't baby it too much while it was driving. So I went through and was able to cover up a lot of the areas that dried weird, and yeah, just kind of even it out and really make the highlights pop. The two different blues really correspond well together, and I wasn't being precious with it. I was going a little heavy-handed, but really just going heavy but with thin paint was actually pretty freeing, because I have never tried. Normally I paint with black armor, so this was just different, and it wasn't as scary as I thought. I also added some bluffs. It was like desert bluff color into the blue, so I can make a highlight color. So you can see it's almost like a yellowish tan into the blue, and it really made it kind of pop. It's kind of like an ice yellow type color. Yeah, it looked really good when I hit some of the highlights. And I went through and I hit the areas that would really be kind of hit by the sun really heavily. So like the back of the legs, the top of the knee there. I'll hit the shoulder pads and some parts of the arms and the chest as well. It looks really bright white, not white, but baby blue right now as it's still wet. But as it dries, then I'm going to hit it with another wash a little bit later. It really muted it down, but really you could tell that there was contrast between the darker recesses and the shadows and the brighter areas. So it looks really good. Yeah, you can see I just hit the top of the shoulders and the backpack as well. Yeah, really nicely highlighted. So as you can see, just kind of going through with another quick little blue wash over the armor again. This way I could mix up a glaze with the color, but I really like the color of the wash. So using different color blues to really figure out the highlights, and then using the wash that I actually like the color of to kind of bring it all together and to tint all the colors that I'm putting on, really gave me the look that I wanted. It looks really good. I also went back over with a, not a black tone, but like a dark tone wash over all the leather bits and just everything else. Even the tabards, went back over it. So I got it's more of a sepia type wash. So it's more of a brown pooling effect in the creases there. I made sure not to let it dry too pooled, so it just gets like dark and glossy. I made sure to wash it out a little bit, and then I went with a lighter toned light wash that's more for skin tones, and I hit that on the face to really get it into the recesses there, and just to start building up some layers on the face, because it was really bright white when I added the skeleton bone on the face. It was a little too much. This is where I'm going back through and I'm hitting it with that the skin tone colors that I had mixed up with like the elven flesh colors. It's kind of like a pinkish tone. Going back over it, it was more of a glaze, so I had to do a couple of coats over it, and it's starting to build up over those white layers, starting to look really good. So the face looked really good, yeah. So please like and subscribe. So especially if you're still here, I appreciate you, and I hope you're enjoying this so far. Just trying to grow this channel a little bit and show off the things I love to do, which is painting these darn miniatures and building terrain and stuff. So yeah, going through, and everything that I did in black that I intended to be gold eventually, just going through with a gunmetal and base coating it all with a gunmetal. I like doing a base coat of gunmetal, especially for all the metal bits, and then anything I'm going to do gold, it feels like a nice foundation. So I'm doing parts of the weapons and the Aquila on the chest, and then the belt, the little bone box on the front. I also kind of added some of this to the edges and surfaces of the armor to make it look like scratches. I didn't want it to make it look like chipping. This model already has pretty good chipping built into it. So I laid this into the chipping and highlighted those, but I didn't want to add overdo the chipping. So I added a lot of little scratches with the gunmetal on the armor itself, just to look like it's being scratched up a bit. Didn't want to go overboard with the chipping effects. So yeah, just fixing up the weapons right now and getting the gunmetal on there. Yeah, I didn't want to do anything too much. I know the game and the box art just shows a black chainsword. Normally I like either doing it a different color or adding like hazard stripes, but I wanted to keep it a little bit closer to what the box art looks like. And I added some scratches along the side of that to look like it's actually gone through some stuff. Just hitting the details on the backpack there. Just all the little bits that need to be in the gunmetal. It's looking really good and ready for some gold metallics. Had to let that dry for a little while. So now I'm going through all the areas that I hit with the gunmetal that I wanted to be gold. Now doing my initial layer of gold. I accidentally watered it down a little bit too much because I like to water them down so it flows really well. So it kind of ran into the recesses of some areas, which was fine. I went through with another layer of a little bit thicker gold on the highlights a little bit later. And I had to clean up some of the areas where it ran into the cracks, you know, with just either browns or like in the tabard with the little bone box, it ran on the front of the tabard. And so I was able to just put some more wash in there and use a grayish color to kind of build in more shadow. Easy enough to clean up, but yeah, the gold is really popping against this blue. Absolutely love the way this is looking. Definitely a go-to color combination. So yeah, I went through, added all the gold, and then now I'm going through and yeah, like I said, hitting the highlights again on that bone box. But yeah, it looks really good with the gold. I'm gonna put a wash over the gold, do like more of a sepia wash over it to kind of get in the recesses really good, and then I'll hit another layer of gold on top to really get it to pop. There I am doing the gray on the hair, just to kind of give it that gray look. I'll put a wash over that as well, just to kind of get in the resources, give it some definition. I tried to paint it kind of strand by strand, if you would, but I don't have that steady of a hand, and I'm not that good with the brush strokes yet. So just going through and fixing up some areas, and hitting those edge highlights again on the tabard. More of that skeleton bone, and going through and really just cleaning it up. Hitting the highlights, like I said, on the gold. I had also off camera hit all the purity seals, the wax seals, the red on the arm, done some more cleanup as well. Just went through, and that's also when I did the wash on the gold as well. Forgot to hit the record button when I did that part. A lot of stop and go in between drying. So you can see the red on the wax seals for the purity seals. And yeah, just did some touch up little spots here and there where I've got some shaky hands. Here I'm hitting the gold stripe along the bottom of the tabard, front and back. Forgot that detail, so I'll hit that, add a little bit of wash to it a little bit later, and then hit the highlights on it again. And here I am again, just kind of cleaning up the blue bits a bit, and anywhere I had messed up. Yeah, and then this is where I added the decal to the shoulder. Kind of just, it wrapped around my brush. I got some, microset, microsol going there. I set the sticker a little bit farther forward instead of centered on the shoulder, just because the way the arm is twisted. It's more going to be just looked at from the front, so I took the creative liberty of doing that. And then I painted over it a little bit to give it a little bit of texture so it doesn't look like a decal. And then I did some really big battle damage through the top of it and had some metallic go through it, and some good chipping on that, just because it's on the sword arm there. So I wanted it to look like it's gone through some stuff. So I added a little bit of weathering to it. And then after all that, I went through, did a wash on all the weapons, got them washed down. I added a wash to the shoulders as well, just to kind of dirty up the white on the Ultramarine symbol. I also did that to the knee as well, where I used the matte white, just because it's so bright of a white. It needed the wash to knock it down. I basically just went through, and anywhere that looked a little too bright, I dulled it down by hitting it with the wash. Like I said, I love the grimdark type look, and if you play this video game, there's no way this guy's armor should be that shiny. It's pretty messed up. I have the Artist Opus brushes, by the way. I love these things. They have been amazing so far. I got the S, the M, and the B series. So I've got the dry brushes, the M, and then the S. So I'm going to be pulling out my smallest brush here to do the eyes. So I used the black color. I did that method where you just do the black line for the eyes, and then I'll come back in a little bit later and do the 2 white dots on either side to create the pupils. On the scroll there, I am actually writing in the U, half of an R, and an A for Ultra on there. Figured I have the fine tip brush, and I actually pulled it off first go, and I didn't need to repaint over the white, so that was pretty cool. I'm also going to go through and add squiggly lines to all of the purity seals to make it look like there's script on there. This brush was absolutely amazing. I've had smaller brushes like this in the past. They felt like they just fell apart immediately, or I just didn't have the technique back then. Maybe some skills are actually getting better now, but this brush is amazing. Here I am adding the dots on either side of the black line there to create the pupil and for the eyeball. And first go, I actually got it to where he's looking forward. You'll be able to see it pretty well in the final picture. But yeah, he's pretty much done, so I decided to start painting the base. So I did an oak brown as a base. I realized that I've got some rocks in there, so I went through and just did a basic gray on all the rocks. I did it while it was wet so I can kind of blend it in a little bit. You can see the little skull in there. And once that dried, I took a skeleton bone and dry brushed that all over even the rocks and the sand to just kind of tie it together. And I dry brushed a little bit on the bottom of the feet to make it just look like I didn't want it to look like a lot of dirt and dust kicking up, but it's more of like that rubbled building type look. You know, if you think of the game, he's going through a lot of these buildings. I guess he could have been going through a lot of mud too. But it felt right with what I was doing here. So yeah, it looks really good. I'm really happy with it so far. So what I did is I went through and I hit it with it's a fur brown, I believe it is, on the rim of the base. Did that up real good. It's got a really good color. I almost want to say like a creamy color. It's not, but it looked really good. And then I added a wash to just kind of tie it together and mute down the colors just like the model. I did it with a dark wash. Looks really good. I got a bunch on the rim of the base, so I went through and repainted that again, and then I hit it with a anti-shine matte varnish from Army Painter. I like it because it still actually has a shine to it. It's not like a true matte varnish. Figure Space Marine Army has kind of a shine, armor has a shine to it. Took some of these grass tufts, glued them on, give it some life, and then I've got some of this blood. It's like red gore effect. It's not as stringy as some of the stuff from like Games Workshop, but it's the Army Painter one. It's more of the color of blood. I did it after I primed it, or after I sealed it with the clear coat, just so it has a little bit more shine than anything. Just went through and put it on the blade. The chainsword, I figured it would have been doing some work if he's running. So I did it on the chainsword, and then I went through down the side of his body as well and did some splatter marks as if, you know, he's actually working. And as you can see there's the finished model. And man, I am happy with it. I hope my buddy is gonna love this thing. I can't wait to give it to him. I mean, I would love this as a holiday gift. So tell me what you guys think. What do you think? I think it looks pretty cool. Let me know in the comment. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I put a lot of work into it. I think it was about 5.5 hours total. Yeah, it's gonna be a cool gift. I look forward to giving it to him. I'll let you know what he thinks. And yeah, again, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, and if you've been watching the whole time, please like, subscribe to the channel. I hope to put out some more painting and definitely some terrain videos in the future. So I appreciate you all for being here. Take care. Bye.